So questions that we frequently get as injury attorneys is, what is the point exactly of an injury attorney or of a trial attorney? The point of having an injury attorney is to have an advocate on your side to try to put your case in its best possible framing so that you can recover fair compensation from an insurance company. But having an injury attorney in order to do that is not the only way to maximize your ability to protect yourself from these types of events. Different way of knowing more about what is going on in an insurance claim is to know a little bit more about the insurance coverages that you have yourself and what those coverages can do for you in an injury case and how they can make a trial attorney or an injury attorney's work for you easier. The first kind of coverages to know about are those that are required by state law. You're required to have liability insurance, which is to cover you in the event that you are the at-fault party. The second kind of insurance coverage that's relevant to injury cases is uninsurance, which is there to cover you in the event that the person who is at fault doesn't have any insurance to cover the situation. There are a couple of other kinds of insurance that it may make sense to look into to protect yourself the best from an injury event. Those two types of insurances are medical payments coverage, also called no-fault coverage, and underinsurance. No-fault coverage or medical payments coverage is a contract between you and your own insurance company to cover the costs of your medical expenses on an ongoing basis. Now, you may have heard that Montana is favorable towards an injured party, and that's true. In Montana, the state of the law is such that if you are injured, an insurance company for the liable party is responsible to make your medical bills, to cover your medical bills on an ongoing basis as you accrue them, as well as to cover your wage loss if you have any. This is so that you're not on an unfair ground when you try to settle with an insurance company. But you can protect yourself for cases where you are either at fault, where there's mixed fault, where you're somewhat at fault for the crash, or even in cases where you're not at fault at all, but you don't want to have to negotiate with that insurance company before you're ready to. That's what medical payments coverage is for. In the case of an injury event, they will cover your medical costs without regard to fault. The other thing to know about this type of insurance is though insurance rates change and premiums go up as time goes by, it's still a relatively affordable type of coverage in Montana because the risk to the insurance company is relatively low. The other type of coverage to know about is underinsurance. Your underinsurance coverage works a little bit like your uninsurance coverage, but it is not mandatory. Underinsurance coverage covers you in the event that the person who injures you doesn't have sufficient coverage to cover your loss or to compensate you in a fair and full way. In those cases, you can rely on your own insurance rather than trying to sue the person who hit you over and above the insurance coverage. You can tell whether you have these types of insurance coverages by looking at what's called your declaration sheet, usually the first page in your insurance contract that tells you what you're paying for and how much you paid. With these things in mind, it may make sense to sit down with your insurance agent if your company uses an insurance agent, or to check on your coverages and make sure that you have protected yourself as best you can from any kind of loss. If you have any questions about these types of coverages, how your insurance works, or what would happen to you if you were in an injury event, feel free to contact us at the Judnich Law office. We'd be happy to talk to you about what's going on. Thanks.